or Doug especially, he knows where they're at and to bring them up. And then,
Yeah, most of them, I have, if they've matured, I've reinvested them.
right,
But the initial investment on all of these were done before I had anything to do with it. Going back to see when they were initially invested might help, but I don't think it's gonna show us why. There might be something in the commissioner minutes that says, Judy Gillespie was the one that told me that they were done. The commissioners wanted her to have a 3-year cushion in there.
rainy day fund.
Whether that's legal or illegal now, I don't know after talking to Harold, but the only place I think we might find an answer might be the commissioner minutes, if it's something that they requested. Yeah, other than that, I haven't bought any new ones. I've reinvested old ones.
So if they were earmarked for that, it sounds like we could probably pull it out then, I guess.
Yeah, maybe
My
my guess, and that's all it is a guess, is that it might be in the commissioner minutes. We
I
might
guess
be able to find it.
basically all we do is try to get this information and have Harold look at it and give us his advice and.
Are these dates that you've got on this Broadwater County cash reconciliation, it shows these, are these dates on here, are these dates that they were purchased? Or are these the dates that they became mature from before and then we just
I
reinvested?
kinda thought I had both on there, but, let's see. That call, that's when they would mature.
So most of those are all mature?
This is what I
This year's.
did for this is from 2012.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and if they were matured, and you see on this one in 2012, from Buchanan, they were all done in $1 million increments. That's when bonds were paying more than CDs for interest. And then after 2008, 2009, when everything collapsed after 9/11, CDs started to pay more interest
Okay.
than the bonds, and that's why but on a CD, you can only have one CD per bank.
Oh, okay.
So that's why there's so many CDs compared to bonds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but these dates are when they were matured. And a lot of these that were the $1 million investments are what they call a step up. So, they'll start you out at 75 or 0.75%, and in 6 or 9 or 12 months, they'll go to 1%, and then after another 6 or so months, they'll go up to 1.5%, and usually those, by the time they were starting to gain good interest, they would call them, because that's
They didn't wanna pay the interest.
right. So then you'd end up reinvesting them again.
Okay.
But
So I guess the question with this whole thing is that Harold's saying that they have to be designated, that they all should be designated as something, but we don't have them designated because there's just a rainy day fund basically that was.
Right. As far as I know, I've never heard that they were designated for anything other than if the economy failed and we needed money to keep the government going.
And that's what I just assumed that's what they were, that was something, if you had excess in your budget, you could invest it for that purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all going,
I guess,
Me first.
we better fund public safety real good, 'cause
I guess if you try to jog Judy's memory some more, see if she would have.
Yeah, I'll give her a call and.
You know, it's,
Yeah. I know who the commissioners were at that time, so,
I think it was McCullough, Hone, and Hensley maybe,
yeah,
it would be 4 Elaine, man, I believe.
yeah.
So, it'd be,
Yeah, but
Makes
as far as I know, they were never designated for anything other than
It was just,
to keep the county operating,
And during a collapse.
right?
I was just surprised to hear that couldn't just pull them like that.
Well, I was surprised to hear that they were part of the budget and they were considered to be the reserve.
But
That's
they've never been involved with the budget. I mean, as far as you know, they haven't been.
No, they've always been
They've always been set
included
over
in our
here.
financial statements, but as far as I knew, they were never involved in the budget.
So that might be another thing to our advantage.
Question to the auditors, you know, where are these?
Yeah, and maybe the auditor would be the best one to answer this, is how do we have even the choice to buy these
How is it
bonds?
accounted for in the budget?
They've never written us up for them, so they're well aware of them, so there can't be too much wrong on that end, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, that might be a,
I'll email the auditors and CC all you guys on it, and
okay.
we'll see what they tell us, and
How do you feel, knowing what you know about the budget and everything, about our maintaining our plan with the CD and the payback? With the fact that they are, some of them, long-term investments, so they're not something we need right now. Knowing what Harold said, that we're essentially borrowing from the cash reserve
right.
and then repaying our cash reserve. It's not really gaining us anything except for a year, and then next year we have to figure it out without that, right?
Right.
How do you feel about that?
No, I still think that's a more viable option than going back into the budget at the 12th hour and having everybody redo their budgets. And I mean, if these bonds are in fact part of our budget process, I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know, and we'll have to find out what the bonds are for to see if, I mean, it's up to you guys to decide if you wanna cash these bonds in for whatever purpose.
The
not-
bonds,
But what you're saying is that they may be dedicated to something.
As far as I know, they're
But
not.
we don't know if
But
they
I think you guys have the,
Wherewithal still to cash them in and
Right.
use them in an emergency situation, which is what this is.
right,
are the bonds on here?
the
Just in here?
bonds are through DA Davidson.
Such a simple solution after all this.
Actually, these two $500,000 lines are bonds.
Okay.
Anything that's $250
Well,
or
I
less
think all the money
is
came
a
when we were
CD.
doing sell the 800 pounds of
Oh, okay. So here's my confusion. This number, right there,
Mhm.
matches the cash report.
That is the treasurer's cash report. That's the cash report I pull off of Black Mountain.
And it matches this cash report that we get from Debbie for balancing the
Right,
budget.
and it should. If it doesn't, we're in trouble.
So it does, which
So-
says to me the bonds are not extra, but incorporated in our cash reserves.
Well, this is just the cash report I pull off the system for everything that came in that month, whether it's motor vehicle taxes, A1s, whatever.
Okay,
This is the cash that came in that month.
That's all excess.
And this amount, this $10,988 that's the bank account, the STIP, the CDs and bonds, everything else, that's checks that haven't been cashed. And this, in a
Okay.
perfect world, these two amounts would match. But we have oppages still
Okay.
from July of 2016, when we first went to Black Mountain, and that's one thing I was gonna talk to the auditor was how to get rid of these balances, because there are so many, and we're never gonna find out what they were once the auditors came in and did their journals to correct the year-end stuff. Then we started balancing. But until then, we had these amounts. What it comes to is about $1,500 for over a period of 7 months.
Okay,
And some of them are positive, some are negative, but it comes to, where we're about $1,500 over on our cash than we are on the Black Mountain system.
okay,
And in my 7990 account, which is an account that it's an over and short account. It's what we used to use for daily balance. If we were over 5 cents or under 5 cents, we would
You
put it
and
in
take
that
it out.
7990, or if somebody was making payments, partial payments on a mobile home tax, we'd put it in the 7990 until they had enough money to pay their taxes, and then we take it out and pay their taxes. Well, over the course of, I don't know how many decades, there's an excess in that fund. It's supposed to zero out every month.
oh,
So we have an excess in there of, I'd have to run a report to see, and a lot of that excess is, that's where protested tax money goes until
that
the
it?
protest is settled.
Oh, okay.
would that be the excess, the ending
Yep,
balance?
that looks about right, is that, yep.
7990?
So what I would like to do is, if we owe the bank or the general fund $1,500 because of these oppages,
Mhm.
is possibly, if the auditor says that this would be the way to do it, is just take 1,500 out of this 7990 and transfer it into the general fund and get rid of all of these oppages. I think the biggest one is $1,892. That's a positive, and the next month we had a negative 1,526, and we had a positive 1,059, and I don't know. We poured over these books for hours and
Nobody's finding it.
no, even, the gal that came to help me couldn't find them, so I don't know if they were things that were caused by all the problems we were having with, you were having problems with, he just got it straightened out like a month ago.
Impera?
And para, yeah, I don't know if it's something that I should have accounted for then, that I didn't. It's just almost impossible to find it.
Sure, sure. And they talked to us about those, you know,
yeah,
not
and
those
since-
specifically, but the need that sometimes
And
you
since
just
December,
wipe the
we've
slate.
been off, after they did those journals, we're off $5.80 1 month. And then this one that says 250, that's a CDI cash that was cashed in June, but didn't get reinvested until July. So I just had to carry it for 1 month, and now it's dropped off. So there was a 5 cent offage there, a 6 cent, if we're off now, it's 5 or 6 cents, or a couple dollars for the month, which could be change given out wrong or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
we're
that's not
we're
enough
not
to lose
thousands
sleep
off,
over.
we're,
Yeah. So our overall increase this last year, and I think you alluded to this earlier in the year, but our beginning balance for cash total to end is a difference of over $900,000, 9% increase of the total, I think, of the beginning cash. So is that the million that you said that you had in additional A101s? Or is that too simple?
you mean the difference between this figure and this one? No,
Is that
this
anything?
this would be, this beginning balance should match the ending balance for May. And then this ending balance will match the beginning balance for August. This is just a report that comes off Black
Oh,
Mountain. This is the
okay.
beginning balance
It's not for the
and all
fiscal
of these
year.
funds, and then you get your money in, money out, transfers, whatever you do, and this is the ending balance for the month. And this is the amount I have to balance to on the
Okay.
cash report.
Okay. And with such a big budget, that kind of fluctuation was expected.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna, that goes up and down every month. It's usually, it seems like it's usually fairly close to 10,000, 9, 10, 11, depending on what kind of month we're having.
Okay.
Or
All
9,000,
right.
yeah.
So basically, what we need to do regardless is everybody needs to tighten their belts because we need to rebuild those reserves. For one, long-term
If
goal,
we can, well, the reserves in there, that 1/3,
right?
yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
just for the
well, we can-
voted,
If
that's
all
just for
we
the
can,
voted levies. So we were saying though, you could have a 200% reserves or 1,000% as long as they're not the voted, which is capped at 33%. You can't have more than that. But
No, I
everything
was-
else, you can have more.
Right, I had skipped to the overall budget and the fact that we're looking at 11% for
Mhm.
public safety.
Mhm.
Think we can do 11% for general fund if I'm not way off on,
Yeah, that's where my last numbers of scrutinizing everything got me yesterday. Cutting from some of those 2,000 funds that get the floating general mills.
yeah.
Trying to get that to balance and get us up there, counting into borrowing or using 250,000-ish distributed, well, the first and then the second half,
Yeah,
getting those two. But that's where they're gonna have to say, okay, I can't, this is what I have to spend, I can't, every year everybody goes up a little bit.
right.
If they kept the same amount and stayed within that, that's what they're gonna have to work at.
What they're not doing is you're not, the third that they have in reserve for last year is not equal to the third that you should have in reserve this year simply because of inflation and increased costs. So every time that your budget goes up, you have to increase that third you have in reserve to match the third of what the actual number is, and that's not what's happening.
No, they're using it.
We're running on a third from 2010, when we're in 2017, we should be running on a third of 2017.
I don't even think most departments are budgeting for that third, are they?
Well, in the general fund, we don't.
Yeah, I never have.
We don't, it's never been suggested, recommended, just don't spend, or
Right.
this is what you get, don't, if you don't spend it, you lose it. Well, no, we just say don't spend it, cause it leaves it in the general fund, don't use it if you don't have to, and that's where the old use or lose it mentality got us here. It is part of it.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't have it, you know, you look at the end of the year, get tax return, oh, I got this money, I wanna spend this, cause I wanna get it back, then you don't get it, you spent it, and now what do I do?
And in the
Go get
general
a loan from the
fund,
bank.
everybody, I think, and I shouldn't say it this way, I think there hasn't been a focus on, we need to rebuild those reserves. So what happens at the end of the year is there isn't that focus, and the general fund is not the responsibility of one, it's the responsibility of a very big group. Therefore, it's also the blame of the others within the group, rather than taking personal responsibility. And that's something we have to change. All the others, almost all the others, District
No.
Court is an exception. She spent most of her, if not all of her reserves,
Mhm.
which we need to work on, but Fair was solid. Extension is solid now. Airport was solid. Weed is solid, mosquito is solid. All those are solid. It's the
Senior.
big funds with the general fund
Everybody
and
has
public safety,
access
of
to the
course.
kitty.
Right, yeah. So somehow we've got to either incorporate Bob's idea of that line item that says, you may not spend this amount of money.
Well, if people would take, okay, I'm gonna spend, which they all know what they're gonna do, pretty much roughly by 33%, say, I need to keep this aside, even though I wanna spend 1,000, I need to keep 330 back of that 1,000 to go into next year with. So even though you're budgeting for 1,330, you should only spend 1,000 of it, keeping that 330 for the next year. I don't think people are doing that. And a lot of us, I know, we're down to just barely making ends meet and don't have a reserve. Versus others, I got it, I'm cushion. How much do we hear people come in and say, well, I'm just gonna cushion, I'm gonna cushion.
Right.
Some of those are ones we need to look at. Do you really need to cushion it? Linda, when she says, okay, here's my, here's where I cut, it was more than the 5%.
Yeah.
So I think they can, if they need to, want to, have to, they just put in there to cushion. That's not enough time to cushion, other than for your reserve, so here's what I have to have, utilities. Travel to go to WIC sites, different things, no more. Other than that 33% to go on to next year till we get our new taxes. That's what I don't think people are doing, or understanding. Especially in the general fund. And when kind of he's got that now, because he's got 4 or 5 different accounts in his too, that he has to keep in mind. It's not just public, it's not just the deputies control. There he's got coroner, now he's got this, the Mason Memorial Fund, he's got to watch for, and keep those all in line. Even though bottom line fund, you might be okay, he needs to keep each of those in perspective, just like we do. Or we have more accounts. Nicole, she's got 3 different funds she gets her money, GIS, planning, and community development. So she's got to keep those separate in perspective. And I just don't know how many of us are doing that, or have thought about it, or understand.
Right.
All the above.
It seems like a lot of offices at year end are scraping to get by, so.
Mhm.
Well,
And if we can only mill what we did last year, and that goes by our budget, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Mhm. And the total was, even though the value went up and the mills went down, he's keeping that same amount of revenue. We increased the whole floating only about 59,000. So you take that 59,000 and try to divvy it up amongst everybody that's getting the floating mills, it doesn't add up. It doesn't go very far. I mean, just the general fund could use that 59,000, let alone anything else. It wasn't, it was a little more, but not a big chunk this year.
Sure.
Maybe you'll see it next year as more of the houses are complete, because we're just getting wound up.
What we need
But-
is the business growth.
We need business growth,
Yeah.
which there again is some of that coming later. They aren't here yet, so they aren't on the tax roll yet. They're coming.
But we can't continue to take from the general fund and give it out. The general fund is also obligated, is a requirement by law. So, I had a headache from the smoke and it's just getting worse.
Yeah, there's a lot of money that goes through, well, just on this one report, we had over 3 million that came in.
Mhm.
We had over 1 million that went out. We dispersed another over 2 million, transferred 1 million. I mean, well, the transfer in and out should always match, maybe,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, I know, just our title work on cars, we used to have a half a page, if that, of titles that people did every day. Now we're getting 2 pages, 2 full-page reports
Yeah.
every day of just titles, not registration.
Just title work.
Just title work from new people coming in, and a lot of it is new people coming into the county, and,
Build a wall, we can eliminate everything.
yeah.
Harold had said, you could cut the clerk and recorder's department and leave just 1 or 2 people there. I think you guys would drown.
Mhm.
Oh, I know we
There's
would.
no
Well,
way we could do it with
I
one
tell you,
person less.
there's, if we're too short up there, the treasure side especially is just scrambling. It's just scrambling, mainly because of the motor vehicle and just the amount of traffic.
And how many times, that's partly why I keep my door not totally shut, but down more, because the noise of people out in the hall talking to talk or visit, do business, gets so overwhelming.
Right.
I keep it kind of down to keep that out, because if I leave it open and can see more and hear more,
Yeah. And you can't.
I can't concentrate,
Yeah.
it gets too overwhelming. You get people have to bring their kids and they're screaming and then running or, and that's not,
And then the occasional one falls down the stairs and.
no, yeah. Yeah, so it's busy, it's
Yeah.
busy, and like we were saying, how many times when I used to live in Lewis and Clark for a while, you go to get title work, you had to wait, pick a number, you had to wait. we're getting there. We didn't have it before, but we're getting there. It's about to the point where we might have to have a number, because there's so many people that keep coming in,
Yeah, there's times when there's 4 or 5 standing out there in line.
and
waiting.
both windows are busy.
Mhm.
Ann's office is side, there's 2, 3 waiting to get stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
So yeah, cutting is, we're growing, how do you cut people?
well, yeah, one thing that's happening is we're getting a number of sex offenders moving here.
Mhm.
What we don't want is those people, like you had mentioned earlier, what we want are the families that thrive on 4-H and the fair and those quality of life departments
And
that
people
Harold
who move
mentioned.
in maybe with a small personal business.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if we reduce those and attract just the sex offenders, and that's not a community we want or can afford.
Because those kind don't pay taxes or pay their bills, or
No,
they
suck
tend to
it.
take. Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
Suck it right out. And we don't have the money to suck.
no.
Sorry.
Well, do you guys have any ideas, any words of wisdom?
Start buying lottery tickets.
Yeah.
It's getting up there, yeah. Wish there was a way to mathematically figure that out.
There's probably a statue we couldn't use it anyway.
Yeah.
Or
you have
citizen
a-
could and donate.
The
Do you
only
guys-
thing that I'm thinking is just to make sure everybody's putting that 1/3
Yeah.
reserve in their budget, but we wouldn't even be able to do that all in 1 year. We would
Yeah.
raise
Yeah,
Right.
to the level more than
Yeah,
we're,
and you can't do it this year, cause your
Right.
budget's a but put it out to people.
That they
You
need to
you need to not spend all your money,
Yeah, maybe start with 10%. You
right,
need to keep, don't spend 10% of your expenditures.
right.
And that
And
might
if
be
you can
something
do
where
15
you get
more,
more
yeah, right.
time, I can help them. Just have those, maybe create a spreadsheet, here's 10%, you can't go over this, and every month, re-update the numbers, say you're getting close, don't, and send that out. It needs more work on my part, but it needs to be done
Right.
one way or the other, and it's easier beforehand than afterhand.
And we can help you with that.
You know, especially those that are getting the voted, the general fund, those that are getting the voted levies, I think are most worrisome
Yeah,
right now. Because when I was trying to readjust everybody, most of them that get the standard mills are okay, or they don't have a limitation.
yeah.
They spend what they get because they're grant money, like, well, she spends what she gets, or MBAC, we spend what we get, there's no extra, but,
But there's no need for reserves on
No.
those either.
mm-mm.
That's the difference.
Like MCH and,
For the board of health meeting.
Well, we have the contract we need to sign, if we're gonna do this with the CD. If that's the way we wanna go, we have to sign that. You guys good with that?
I think, I don't, Harold never mentioned, never said any restrictions on that. I mean, it's just, I think we gotta do it anyway. So I would be good with something, yeah.
well, and I think it holds people accountable better if there's something signed, sealed,
Well,
verifiable.
it'll hold us accountable too, because
Well,
commissioners
and
come and
people
go,
too,
right?
to know that this was signed by this commission, just because they're not here, we still might be, it still should be a valid thing,
Right,
even for us. Oh, you're gone now, so it doesn't bind anymore, that
exactly.
happens, I've seen
It
that
does.
happen.
Yeah.
It carries it forward.
Did you bring that contract with you? I can go get it unless you want to.
Yeah, you would go.
Yeah. All right. I just think it's important that everybody knows that this is not, this is not a gift. It's gonna take some hurt and it's gonna take some paying
Why don't
back
we get
and.
this,
Oh, and
set of
so-
minutes that's here? Any addition or correction to? the
Move to
minutes of
approve
it?
is submitted. Hey, John.
I was at Lynn, I thought this meeting started at 10. And then we got
Yeah,
an email from county meeting, I go, Jesus Christ, that's right, that was supposed to start at 9. I was over there, we were talking about all this going on, I'm going, Jesus Christ.
You want to second the minutes?
Yeah, I'll say.
Move to second. We'll vote.
That does,
Thank you.
And you don't remember why those guys set up this account?
those are part of that.
Come on,
I
You
know
know-
this,
right off the here.
Come on, I was way too far down the food chain at that time, way too far down the food chain.
Formula, this plus or
I
minus
just
this
wonder, you know, what,
should
Is how you-
equal,
okay.
this minus this should equal.
I understand why it was put there, but I don't
Have all
understand
these
why
other.
Sure.
there isn't
Right.
some kind of a
This is
document on
really
there
what's
that,
up
Right.
in-
like, so I think the best thing to do is go through
Oh,
the mill.
okay, so
Why
this is
don't you
kind of
call
separate,
Steve and
but,
call him and ask him
okay,
if he can.
okay.
Yeah, this is our
Remember
cash.
what-
So
This
that's why,
is-
that's
Yeah,
why
that's a good
they're
idea.
separate.
Yeah, why don't you call
Okay, so
him,
that's
he's
why,
gonna
okay,
call
that
Judy.
makes sense to me now.
Yeah, because I know
Why,
Judy
we
told
never
me
had
that
an
was what
issue
they want her to
with
have that in reserve.
cash.
But the thing is,
And why our
is
financial statements are
he's
different,
saying that it was
they're
supposed to be a
investments, they're money we
3-year
have, but we
rule.
just don't touch them.
Yeah,
Now it
and-
only
and-
covers,
yeah,
the-
and-
barely
and-
covers a year.
And I
Which
don't
doesn't
think
show
they ever
here,
actually got to the
but for
3 years
budgeting,
either, and Judy had the goal, but I
You
think
have
she
to
told
cash it and add
Doug
it to
that she
here,
never got that
so it
far.
shows in here.
Oh,
She got,
Okay.
I think,
That makes, that cleared that up, that was my.
she's right about a year.
Now I get it, yep.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
but,
just
but
checking to see
I
what
think she had it
2012
at
DA
2 at
Davidson,
one
we
point in
had
time, or real close to it when
Yeah,
she quit, so, but who
Oh,
knows,
that's
because there's
cash. We
been,
had
after her, there's been Rhonda, and now there's been Doug, and we've had
730,000.
Lord knows how many.
DA
Commissioners.
Davidson,
Yeah.
now we
yeah.
have
Huh,
So,
that's just,
yeah.
it's
a
just,
million, 234,000.
I don't see where,
So we've gone down a little bit there.
So then in Buchanan.
like I said, it should show up in the cash report that you have that, but it's still, maybe that's why they didn't put it in there, so that people didn't know they had
And
to
there we
spend it.
It could be, but on the county level, it has to be accounted
June,
for
there's
some
$1
way.
million.
Yeah.
It has to show up someplace.
Off of
Well,
it.
you think that the auditors would have said something
But, yeah, if,
But
if,
this 8,000, that's
why,
counting the
why
bank
do you have all
balance.
this money and it's not accounted, it has to be accounted
And where
for
does,
somehow.
Yeah.
the.
Can't just show it on there.
Right,
Right.
right.
That's,
the
So,
ghost
yeah.
account or
On
something,
there.
you still have
Yep.
to show it.
Right, so
That's
I,
why, that's
so
why
then
here,
when they're throwing out the whole
This-
10,000 CDs, they're wrong.
this is where they can play with that, it's,
to
yeah,
then
okay.
downing and see what
Got
they
it,
have.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you would think that they would.
Right,
There's my,
And one thing that we need to completely make sure that we don't start, and it happened a little bit today, but again, as a unit, Franklin, Mike, me, everyone is bad mouthing the hospital. What it does, it hurts the credibility of this commission, it hurts the credibility of these CDs, it hurts the credibility of all elected officials. It is divisive, and if we are going to try and stand united and help our public safety and county attorney to get this mill levy, we've gotta start being honest
right.
about the hospital.
And that hospital needs, that's water under the bridge.
It is, it
It's
is.
time to move forward from that and take care of the problems we have now. That one's been handled. It's
Right.
time to move on.
And to call it whatever you wanna call it, it was an investment in our community,
Mm-hmm.
period.
Exactly.
That's money that's coming back to us.
Big
Absolutely.
time.
It's not
Yeah.
money that we're given for a trial, that's money that's not coming,
Right, right.
well, it's not
Right.
coming back financially, it might come back
Yeah,
with.
when you need it,
Yeah,
I'm a good
Yeah.
example. If it wasn't here, they'd have shipped me to Helena.
mhm.
the thing is any one of us going to another meeting, saying something that's not true, or sitting in this meeting saying something that's not true, hurts the county and hurts every department, including the cops that we wanna support.
Mhm.
So, I don't know how to get that message across, but it needs to be accepted by everyone.
That happens everywhere. Clerk and recorder convention, when the Secretary of State showed up, he just got hammered. That poor guy, I felt like going.
You know what, though,
going
he
to give
should
him
have.
a hug, man.
He's out of bounds right now,
He is,
accusing counties,
but
that's not
The
okay.
clerk and recorders all through emails decided that none of us would speak with the press. And at the end of that meeting, I saw 3 of them out in the hall talking to reporters. What?
Right, that's
Did
a
I
great
miss a memo
example.
or what?
Yeah.
What's going on, you know,
Yeah.
if you're not gonna badmouth somebody, nobody badmouth them.
Right, yeah,
If this mill levy's gonna pass, it's gonna pass, cause we're together as a county, I think.
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
if Wynn and Corey go out to pass a mill levy, and I'm talking trash about them to everybody on the street,
Absolutely,
that's not good.
yeah.
That's kind of where we have to filter some of our personal from our work-related relationships. Personally, we might not like somebody, but professionally, we need to
Yeah.
Absolutely,
respect and work with each other. Or it's for nothing.
Yeah,
Walk a mile in their shoes, you know.
You know, that's right, we all are
None
going
of
through
us
our own.
have a clue what Wynn really goes through.
no, no.
I wouldn't trade him jobs for anything.
No, and that's why I'm so proud of the fact that the general fund supports public safety as much as it does, and how much in hundreds of thousands of dollars are given in PILT annually. But we just, when we run out of money, we run out of money,
Mhm.
and I don't wanna get there.
Mm-mm.
But if we're gonna continue chewing off our own feet, we're not gonna be able to do this. So we've gotta figure out a way that we end this nonsense. And somehow find a way to unite. I do think we need to get our department head meetings going again. Maybe we can plan that before we go today.
Do we need to read this off then?
We don't have to read it off, we can make it a part of the public record, and just state the basics of it.
That's that one I should give you, yes.
So,
Cameras out in the crowd, there's no crowd.
Right.
Standing room, we didn't sell any tickets.
We'll be watching that too.
send out very soon, the COLA raises, the market adjustment, and health insurance increases. I mean, we're gonna be freezing and stuff, I think everything should be. I thought.
That's a no, that's off the table for me. So what we're faced with right now is just what Wynn talked about, and this includes our deputies and their longevity, which would be a hard hit to the people doing the hardest and the worst job out there. Because you can't exclude them, Franklin, they're included too, if you're gonna say that. Our employees,
We're gonna freeze, we're gonna
you
freeze.
can actually work with me civilly. You asked a question, I'm gonna give you an answer, and we can talk about this civilly. We are going to be asking more and more of our employees and giving them less and less resources. We were just talking about how we were going to make sure that our employees know that they can't spend a certain percentage this year. Telling them, and by the way, because it's all your fault, we're gonna freeze your wages. It's not their fault. This is not their fault at all. The reason that we are having such a struggle with the budget is because of this horrific thing that happened in our county and a potential $1 million trial that is not the fault of our employees and should not be bore on the backs of our employees. That does not say we will give COLAs or market adjustments or help to cover health insurance in the future, but it doesn't take it off the table. This is one of those things where we need to be united as a commission, and ditching our employees is poor management that is going to hurt this county long run. Mike, you had a conversation with Nicole about that the other day. I don't need to say another word, but don't shoot this county in the foot. Don't shoot it in the knee or the gut either.
And I'll add something, me and Laura had a conversation yesterday about, and I didn't really see the market adjustments being included in there, but still, myself, I think that in 2 years, this thing's gonna be back to where we don't have to worry about a lot of these cuts. That's my hope. And I don't think that we can ask all of our employees that they don't get a COLA raise. I think that's absolutely the least we can do is give them the COLA. And the health insurance is, so far in the budget, we've gone through the health insurance thing, and if we get a substantial increase, we're gonna have to reevaluate whether or not we're gonna cover that entire increase. And I think that if we have people in market adjustment deals, so that they can be individually evaluated, it doesn't mean that we absolutely have to give that to them. I mean, if we have a new hire that we started out at absolute bottom, and they do a really good job, we should be able to give that person a percentage of some kind of a raise, I think. The thing is that department heads have to be extremely aware of when and where they're spending money. And if that department head has enough wherewithal to stay well within their budget, I don't see a problem with giving somebody in there, if they have a person that's done an extreme good job at adjusting their budget to where they're not spending all that money, I don't see a problem with doing those. The other thing that Nicole and I talked about the other day was that if a department went out and used her and got a grant, she had that grant, that grant money is not used in that fiscal year, but it's still in their budget. That doesn't affect cutting their reserves from 1/3 to 25%. That money's their money because they spent the effort to get the money. But their reserves are still gonna be, are we still keeping reserves at 25? So we're already cutting some people's reserves back out of there, so they're spending that. But if they get that, if they wanna go out and get a grant to increase the money that they have to work with, I think that money should be rewarded to them for that purpose.
And-
Because they did spend the time.
And that's
to do
right,
that.
cause the grants don't count, so if they are getting some voted mills, it would possibly reduce the amount of their voted mills to keep them at that 30% without affecting their grant.
Yeah, their
all it
grant,
would do.
their grant should be, if
It's
they're gonna
not
spend the
included
time
in
and have
that.
somebody do the grant, then that grant should belong to that department.
Mhm.
So I would, I'm not a real fan of market adjustments, but I think that if we get people in there that are doing their jobs, especially in this situation, that they're gonna cut that 5% and they're still gonna stay within their budget and maybe save some more than that, I think that department would deserve that, at least that consideration for that.
Well,
And
if they're content because they feel they're getting paid equitably for what they're doing, they'll give you their 110%. But if they don't feel they're getting equity for all the hard work, they might cut back on the hard work and you might get less productivity out of them.
yeah,
Then where are we at?
I've never been against the national COLA raise. I'm against when it's doubled, tripled, and so on.
Franklin, nothing has been doubled or tripled here in the last at least 15 years. Come on.
It has, the COLA,
No, it has not.
the 1 year was 0.17, whatever it was, and I think we went 3 or,
And there have been a good number of years that have gotten nothing. The money wasn't available, so there
yeah,
was
that's
no
right,
COLA.
that's why
There was
everything
no
was
money.
froze all the way through. That's why I think we're
But
gonna freeze, it should be
don't
frozen.
say that it's been tripled. It has never been tripled.
I'll make the motion to sign the agreement to pay back to Broadwater County for the loan of $250,000 CD.
I'll second the motion.
Move the second to pay back, or the resolution I just read off. All in favor?
Aye.
I agree, other with the stipulation of that, those three things I just named off.
You betcha.
Do you need Doug Ray anymore?
No.
No, thanks.
Thanks.
You're
Thanks, you
dismissed.
guys. Your ideas are always
We adjourned
welcome.
at,
Pass that to Franklin.
I'm still,
Before we adjourn, I'm gonna request very strenuously, Franklin, that you sign this. I understand, and you've made it a part of the public record, that you don't like the market adjustments. This is an extremely important document. What it says
I
is
have nothing
we,
against any of that. So
would you
those
please
three
sign
things
it
right
then,
there.
so that we are a united commission, that we are going to pay back this CD? If we don't pay back this,
I'm in favor of all that.
Would
There's
you
no
please sign
stipulation right
it?
there that I'm against.
I know, would you please sign the document that we are paying back the CD? Are you kidding me?
Franklin, that motion just passed unanimously, even with conditions. Please,
I didn't hear anything about any conditions.
you had concerns. you had concerns, but you voted for it. Please sign it.
Really, if we're gonna ask all the department heads to go along with everything in order to get this mill levy passed, this is actually the first step, I mean,
Well, it's got, I want it on record, what I've said several times already.
Okay, you have concerns with the COLA, with the,
COLA, I'm not,
okay,
the national COLA
okay,
raise, I'm okay with.
okay.
I'm
So what,
against,
what
up from the
specific
COLA and
are,
against the market adjustments and, yeah, I don't care so much about the insurance, but I guess it,
what do you want with your concerns in the minutes? The market adjustment?
yeah.
All right. Will you sign it if I put that in the minutes?
And that I'm not against the national COLA raise, but
I
I'm
won't,
against
I won't put, okay, what are you against then?
raising above the national COLA raise.
Okay, I don't think it says anything in there above, but I will. Okay, if I put market adjustment and, no more than national COLA, will you sign that?
Yeah, and what does it say on the insurance? Let me read that again. Yeah, I won't see anything on health insurance raises. I think they're probably gonna have to be increases. We're adjourned at 12:59.
1 minute to have.
You want the camera turned off?